listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
You are back with Paranormal Experience Radio. I'm Kat Hobson, your host, with my guest, Willie Windwalker Gibson. And, search them on Amazon. There's a couple of books out there. You need to be reading those. So, Willie, I had to interrupt you again, and I am so sorry I did that. But, got to take a break. So,
sure.
And I interrupted you. And we were talking about, the real versus the not real shamans and the dangers that evolve from that. And we were talking about what can happen if you bring someone who is a con into your environment.
Yeah, well, the spirits are going to know it, especially if you're working with diabolical spirits. And, I get called all the time, Windwalker, we've got a demon in the house, and you need to come out, and you need to take, see what's going on. So I'll go out, and I'll go do a walk through the house and, feel it out and everything, because I've dealt with that, and I've also dealt with punks too, punk spirits. And I walk out and say, you don't have a demon in the house. Well, yeah, I do. Yeah, they're doing all kinds of, no, you don't. Because, I could tell, I could tell by the spell. And if you run up against a real demon, you'll know it. I mean, I've worked a case that it's just like watching Amityville Horror. I mean, I've walked in a case like that one time, and unfortunately I had to go in by myself because my team was spread out, and Bishop Long was out of town, and Shaman was in the hospital, and I had to do this, and I walked into this house, and it's just, you knew, and the lady, when I walked in there, she was on the verge of number 3, full possession. You got, 3, you have to deal with infestation, oppression, and possession. Well, she was right on the verge of being fully possessed. So, I was able to go in and take care of business there. But that house, when I walked into it, there were so many flies in this house. The wall was completely black. The pipes, water was coming out of the pipes from the drain that was shooting up like a geyser, and the animals were going crazy, and the smell and all this kind of stuff. I knew what I was dealing with because her and her husband was dealing in some nasty stuff, and they had opened up a portal, and she was also drinking blood, and all this stuff was going on. I had to deal with that stuff. Yeah, so, I dealt with it, and I took care of it. But, there are people that says, well, I've gone and I've done exorcism. Oh, really? What did you do? Well, I lined these people up, and they were all demonic. They were all possessed, and I put my hand on them, and I prayed on them, and they fell on the floor, and I did the exorcism. I said, oh, really? I said, do you know that you cannot do a 30-second exorcism? Oh, I did. No, you didn't. Now, either the person had a mental problem, they were pulling your leg, or they just got slain in the spirit. Do you know the difference between slain in the spirit and being possessed? And they just looked at you. I said, if you went to a real demonic house and a demonic person, you know it. You would know it before you walked in, what you were dealing with, because that energy is so bad, it will turn your stomach. And these people say, well, I lined them up in the church, and I touched them, and they fell on the floor, and I took I did an exorcism. No, you didn't. You don't do 30-second exorcisms. It takes a while. Sometimes it takes months. Sometimes it takes years. But if you're dealing with a case where the person isn't totally took over, you might be able to deal with it earlier. Get rid of whatever's in there and get rid of it. And Bishop Long will tell you, sometimes it takes him months and years to do a complete exorcism. He's done 28 of them. He's the expert. I defer to him, and I'll call him sometimes. I say, Bishop, I got this and this and this going on. He said, Willie, I think you've got a person that's got a mental problem. Well, in dealing with that and talking with them, you find out the person's on Haldol. They've been in the hospital. They got off their meds, and they think they're possessed. You've got to be careful. You've got to do your homework before you try something like that. You can't just walk into a person's house. I'm going to do an exorcism. There's some homework to do. You got to have doctors involved. And if you're doing an exorcism, and Bishop Long will tell you, you better have a doctor handy or EMS out there waiting, because something can go wrong. So there are a lot of things to this that people don't realize. Even being a shaman, you got to be very, very careful when you're walking into this. People think when you're a shaman, the title, they put you up on a pedestal, but they don't realize you're a human being, and you got feelings, and you got senses that you use besides what the gifts you got. And sometimes it's basically you could just walk into a place and just talk to a person and counsel them, and you got things under control. Sometimes you might be dealing with a poltergeist, and all you got to do is talk to a person. You find out that person is the poltergeist. They got certain gifts, and that they're out of whack, and you got to find out how to put them back in sync. I've dealt with cases like that. You got to know what you're dealing with. You walk in, but you got these people that want that title, and they think they're the big mamu, and they walk in there, and people want to bow to them and say, "Oh, you're the great shaman, and you'll take care of this and this." Real shamans are kind of low key. I mean, I'm on the radio, and I've been on TV and all this kind of stuff. But you're not going to see me going to someplace just to go to it. You're not going to see me going to, like a penitentiary that's shut down just to see if there's ghosts there. Well, we already know there's ghosts there. What do you need me there for? I'm called out to help the spirit. I'm called out to calm the situation. I'm called out to either cross a individual entity over, or I'm called out to bind them or get rid of them. That's what some of my main things I do. But you get some of these con people out there that don't know. They just say, well, I read this, and I'm a shaman. I can go out and do this. I'll just do what the book says. You do what the book says, and you'll be going out someplace with your head between your legs, squealing like a dog, because this thing has kicked your butt, and you don't know the tools that a shaman does. Shamans are taught with different tools. Now, I know, being in the paranormal, I've learned how to do stuff. I've learned how to do the dowsing rods and the crystals and all that. But there's a lot of stuff that a shaman's trained with, like not only sage, but other different things that they use to combat evil and clear things out, which I won't go into. But in our medicine bag, we've got some stuff in there that's heavy duty,
Exactly.
More than just sage. So, and you have to be trained on this stuff. Each individual thing you have to be trained on. This is what this is. This is what this does. This is how you use it. And you get these people who got a book, and they'll come in there and they might have sage with them, and they might have salt holy water, but that's it. But a true shaman in his medicine bag or her medicine bag, because a lot of my people that's trained me that were shamans were women, and they were strong and powerful women too. We've got our medicine bag, and we pull out stuff that you might not know what it is, but we do. So a shaman's got a bunch of things that a whole lot different than just a regular medium, a walk in and walk through a building or on property and walk back out. But they're gifted and all that. But a lot of times, they have taken some training from a shaman or a medicine person just to have that extra training in their repertoire of what they use, and they know that they've been trained by the real thing. But these people that just wants the title is going to get you hurt.
I agree with that. And that's why when I do take advice from people, I'm pretty particular about it, because I know that there's so much I don't know, and I'm okay with that, because I'm educating as I go. Right.
Kat, I've been with people that's supposed to be trained, that's supposed to be shamans, and I'll be out in there. I said, well, I think we're dealing with elementals. And they'll look at me, and they'll say, what's an elemental? And
I know. People never know. I mean, I agree. I have been on investigations and having experiences, and those are there, and nobody really knows what on earth it is. They think it's a gnome or an imp, and I'm like, no, they're real things, and they're guardians, but you don't want to tick them off because they're fierce, and they have a job to do. Just, you can't. Anyway, that's another.
Kat, people don't realize a lot of things that is supposed to be fairy tale and lore is really true.
Exactly.
They fairies. Well, there's nothing. I tell you what, go out in the forest when I sometimes and see these little things flying around. And that's a dragonfly. Really? Go get up close and see what you see. And they'll go up and they'll come back and their face is ash white and they'll walk off like they're like Never Land. I said, what'd you see? And they won't say anything. And I've had cases where people's call me, well, I've seen this thing in my front yard, or I've caught this thing in my house, and they describe it to me. Well, this is what it was. You've got to be kidding. No, that's what it is. That's a fairy tale. No, it's what it is.
Everything has a basis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Every fairy tale has a basis.
I had a couple of cases just a few months ago where I went out. One of the cases where was had to do with elementals, and another case had to do with what I call a trash spirit.
A what?
So a trash spirit.
Okay.
Well, certain spirits are attracted to certain things. A lot of spirits are attracted to negativity and garbage. Okay. Well, I had an experience where a person was having problems in their house, and I went into their house, and I walked through their house, and everything was all hunky dory, and everything's fine. And then I said, well, something's drawing me down to downstairs. Oh, we got a full apartment downstairs. Walked downstairs, and it looked like a tornado hit it. And that's where most of the activity was. And I had a guy that's a soul warrior, that's a tech man. I do have a person that goes out and takes pictures and EMFs and all that kind of stuff for me, and comes back and shows me certain things before I'll go into a case sometimes. And he went with me. This is one of his cases, and he says, this is what's going on, Willie. Well, he was down there taking pictures while I was down there, and he was coming back with a picture, and sure enough, you could see this entity was there, and it was around all this garbage and stuff. And once I did the clearing and everything and got rid of it, I said, and then I had to go upstairs and tell the lady, I said, look, you're going to have to clean that basement out, or you're not going to get rid of this. And she looked at me like she was pissed off. I said, well, you asked me. This is attracting this. You get rid of that, I'll do the clearing. I've got rid of it, but it's going to come back if you don't clean this stuff up.
Because it's drawn to chaos, right?
Yeah. She did what I told her to, and then everything was fine. Little simple things like that can get rid of negativity. I mean, negative spirits. I mean, it was getting to a point where it was touching and pushing them and all this kind of stuff. It was trying to take over and get them out of the house. What it was trying to do, but I had to go in and take care of that. And and I did. I went on ahead and did a barrier around the property too. But it's different cases for different situations.
Absolutely. We've got about 20 seconds until this next break, and we've got questions in chat that I'm going to bring up when we come back, but this is going to be just a 5-minute news break. This is an NPR broadcast, and you know what? I hope we find a little good news out there today, because we need some. So